right, guys, welcome back to episode 100 of the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I am so excited to launch this into your field today and to step into the space with you. And if you guys hear the dogs wrestling or noises in the background, you know what? Like my kettle is about to go off. Like I I just desire you to like feel this energy of the realness that I have brought, that the guests have brought throughout 100 episodes of this podcast. And who knew back on February 28th in 2023, when this launched into the world, that it would become a movement. Some of you have heard every single episode that has dropped through this podcast, and I just want to honor you and thank you for being on the journey with me, and thank you for being a part of my world and for learning with me alongside some of the beautiful expanded guests that we got to serve this into the world. And when the 100th episode dropped in, you know, I procrastinated on getting this put together. Last night I was so tired. I had done a lot of energy work yesterday and the day before, and was just trying to hold space for everything. And I got the clips cut, but I was like, I can't hold the intros that are going to go in between and the explanations that are going to go in between the clips. So I'm shelving it until the morning. And I woke up this morning and felt a little bit of pressure to make sure I got it out on time. And I went, I don't want to play this game of pressure. I want to play this game of aligned flow that feels juicy. Pressure is an old school way of doing things. And even though there's a commitment, and even though usually at 5 a.m. Eastern, the podcast drops on Fridays and it's always out on that time, I wasn't playing that game today because I was like, this is what's going to transpire. And I'm literally recording this in real time right now, about to cut the whole entire episode, put it together. Now, for some of you guys that are going to be watching this on YouTube, unfortunately, I'm not doing the videos of the clips onto YouTube. You will hear the audio track over top of an image because it just was too much. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do something or to step into a box to create something, because that's just not who I am. It's not like what I teach. It's not how I operate. You know, like I didn't even do my hair. Like this is what my hair looks like right now. Like in the space of, if you guys are watching the video, I'm like, fuck it. This podcast is about being real, having real conversations, showing up in who you are and the potency of that, and speaking into the truth. And I'm here to speak into the truth. So I am so jazzed to bring to you episode 100. And what I did was I pulled 4 of the top downloaded episodes and I grabbed a clip from each of those episodes that was like, most of them, like I could have put the whole entire episode in here, but I obviously didn't. So I grabbed some clips of it that were powerful statements in some way, shape, or form that are relevant to the collective energy moving through today. And I just really desire you to feel out the speakers. I'm going to do intros for each of them again to remind you what episode they were on. And maybe it'll be something you go back to listen to because you're like, oh my God, I remember that. And like, that's so relevant for me today. And it'll just make sense for you to go back and re-listen to that episode. But it's like, there's some powerful players that have come through the field. I'm doing a lot of solo episodes in season 3, but I am bringing a few people back. I am collaborating with some new people, some new energies coming through too. And I'm just like really desiring to make this season 3, to make this podcast whatever you desire it to be. So I always say to you guys, like, I'm so open. If there's certain things you want to learn about, if there's the guests that you want me to see if I can get on the podcast, send me a DM on Instagram. All of my contact info is in the show notes always. Let me know. Let me know what this feels like for you. Let me know how we move through this. Let me know what this is like for you, because this is your podcast, just like it's mine. You know, I show up every week to get these episodes out and to share with you knowledge and inspiration and stuff moving through the field. But this is yours. Like, this is your ear. This is your movement. This is us coming together in a certain aspect in space. And it's like, let's do it. You know, let's do it. Let's just pretend, okay, for a second, that we live our life all in every day. And if you were to feel that in your field today, this morning, as you're about to embark on a journey, what does that mean for you right now in this moment? And if you are not doing that every day, how can you start to show up in this, start to move this energy through? And that's the gift I want to leave you with today as we move through this next episode 100. And I'm just so grateful. It's been a year and 3 months to the day, literally. It's Friday, June the 28th today. So on February 28th, 2023, this launched, or it's been 4 months, a year and 4 months. It's just crazy, right? Time moves and time flies. This is a reminder to start living the life you really desire to live. It's time. So no further ado, episode 100, the Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. All right, everybody. So let's go into the first clip that I pulled, taking us back to November of 2023, where episode 64 got launched. And I'm not sure if you remember Alana, but she is a yoga instructor here in Costa Rica. I've taken her classes on multiple occasions. She's also a beautiful, beautiful coach and spirit in the world. And we dove deep into life on this podcast episode. It was episode 64, and it was called Taking Accountability for Your Life. And we dove into some really dynamic conversations about shadow work, about doing the healing space, about us as leaders. And the clip I chose to play with you today, or to play for you with you today, is a clip of us talking about yoga mechanisms and the healing work that goes through yoga, and the availability we have to connect deeper into our bodies. I really feel we're in a movement of time right now that it's like we've got to be present in our landscape here in order to move through the stuff that's necessary and needed at this time. And Alana did such a great job at exploring this conversation in this clip that I chose for you. So just bringing us back to November of 2023, episode 64. And here you go. Let's rock it out, my friend.
I do resonate with, like, especially as athletes, we're used to treating our body as something that's outside of ourselves. And that was a huge reclamation for me in my practice of even up to 2 years ago. I think it was Sean Corn who I went on one of her retreats, and she read me like a book with love, but she's like, oh, like the perfectionism and all that stuff you had in dance, like it's still here in your yoga practice. Like I didn't, just because I shifted careers doesn't mean my shit didn't come with me. And I was like, that was a huge mirror of like, oh, damn. And I think of my body. I mean, if people sense me as an embodied person, which is beautiful because I do know my body well, but that connection, like you're saying, wasn't there for me. I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw these shapes and do these things and do that. But I couldn't feel what that was like in my body. Right. I've been so in here to try to like ninja my way to get it right or get it perfect that I was like not enjoying what it means to feel alive and have the sensations of what our body's like in poses and being present. Like presence is terrifying. No fucking wonder Shavasana, like, yeah, I mean, I love that most of us now that have these wellness practices, like we can sit back and relax and be in it. But to someone who doesn't know how to be with themselves, that is terrifying. Take 5 minutes, close your eyes and see what happens. And so when I had my first Shavasana experiences, I had a lot of that traumatic, like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't know how to be with myself. What does this mean? And so that was kind of the hunger that I also felt to, oh, like, I'm not this mind, I'm not this body. What's there? What can I do with this? How can I study what's actually happening? How do I get these to unite? And it was through presence, like you're saying, of studying. Like 500-hour yoga teacher training was super helpful, but also my work now, I'm doing these coaching calls and diving more into the conscious work, subconscious work, and getting to our belief systems and doing somatic releases, because my mission, I believe, here is to help others suffer less. Like I know what it's like to be depressed and want to take your life and have eating disorders. And like, I have a lot of pain, like we all do. And we don't really talk about it. Not that there's a fine line too, right? I'm not going to get online and be like, then woe is me, wah, because we've all been there. And there's like a lot bigger problems happening in the world. And also we got to start talking about it. We got to start making like something about not bypassing what's happening in the world. And I think for me as a spiritual teacher, I like to consider that I'm a bridge of making the spiritual world real and raw and something that everyone can connect to, not just certain kinds of people or advanced yogis. I want yoga to be for everyone so that we can find safety in who we are. And I don't think we can heal without feeling safe. And for me, that's what the biggest thing that the practice provided is I eventually learned how to be safe in my body, in my mind, learned that like the heart has its own language, its own vibrancy, its own frequency. That's everything, that's eternal. And not a lot of people, maybe, yes, a lot of people do know that. A lot of people don't know that.
Yes.
And so I believe that I'm here to curate experiences and give tools that are spiritually bite-sized. So that People are curious. You're like, oh, I don't know about this yoga stuff. It's like, it starts with the breath. Breathe deeper, see what can change. How does your body feel? Tune into your senses. So for me right now, like that kind of somatic bringing ourselves into the body is interesting to me. But it's just vast, and there's so much there, and there's so much that we don't talk about. And I think that when we have mindful practices, we're able to access these parts of ourselves that actually make a difference. We can sit and listen to everyone and study with Ram Dass and we can do all the right things, but it's no one's choice but ours until we get sick of our own shit to make a different choice.
Right? So cool. Isn't that such a potent clip that I pulled in connection with just really stepping into the space? Okay, the next one is going all the way back to episode 18 of the podcast with psychic medium / lawyer Raminer. And I don't know if you ever remember Raminer. Like, this was like a beautiful episode about her transitioning from being a lawyer in that mechanism and actually owning her gifts of being a psychic and stepping into space. So the clip I chose was really a highlight of this experience for her in her life. And the episode was called From Lawyer to Owning Her Psychic Gifts While Advocating for Truth. She was a massive truth speaker into the field through all of the COVID stuff and through all of the mechanism of that. And that's how I originally found her. And just a powerful, powerful episode. And when I got to go back in, like just the reminders of the conversations we got to have throughout that episode itself, I was like, oh, this is so amazing. It was so great. So I chose a clip that's super relevant for a lot of you right now that are in transition, that you are being called forward to move, to transition, to leave relationships, to change careers, to own your gifts in the world, whatever they are. And this clip itself really highlights the dynamic of what this actually means for somebody if they were to choose to step into this energy. So here you go. No further ado, coming from episode 18, back from April of 28 of 2023, Raminer.
For a much different purpose than what I was doing. And at that time I was practicing law. And so I was in the big firm environment going through that really big awakening, right? In about 2019, where I was like, oh, it's really happening. I had met my twin flame in 2018, who is not my fiance that I'm getting married to. So if anybody's a twin here,
I am a twin. I don't get it.
Yeah. If anyone's a twin here, I did not I didn't continue on that path because my twin has chosen to remain in ego. And so I decided to move forward, and I found a soul counterpart in my fiance Raj, who I love. And it's getting more conscious as the days go on, which I love seeing too. So what I mean is like that awakening, the catalyst of meeting my twin and realizing who he was at that point was like, whoa, really crazy, because I realized like I wasn't tripping out. Like, it was something that I called extraterrestrial, like in terms of a feeling, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Which, you understand. So I started to really dive into like, what's going on? Who am I? Who are twins? What is the purpose of like me being here, right? This is my last lifetime on earth. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, and I was just going on. And so trying to juggle living a corporate billable life with the full-time job of an awakening was like, I would be crying in my office, like preparing for trial, like literally. Right. And then, pandemic happened. Like, it was so bad, Colleen. And then I realized that the place I was at was not in alignment. I mean, I love the firm that I was at, but I wasn't feeling valued there. I wasn't getting what I wanted. And I ended up leaving a month or two before my contract ended. And I didn't think that the pandemic would happen. Like, we knew something was going to happen if we were already awake. Like, we knew an awakening was on the cusp, right? We didn't know necessarily what it would look like. At least I didn't. I'm sure some people did. Yeah. And then, I'd had 3 interviews at a different firm. I went to Miami for my friend's bachelorette. I was like, I'm going to come back and get this job. Like, I was chilling, right?
Yeah.
Come back 2 weeks later, pandemic. And then I was sitting at home, right? I had to use CERB and figure out how I was going to live because I was just like, wow, like, I guess I have to really lean into my gifts. And that was when 2020 in March, I started to really own my business, which had already, like I said, started in 2019. But it was a trip because I never really thought that I would leave the system, right? But I talk a lot about the system, and I realized that I was very unproductive within it, and that the people that are in the system are not really getting stuff done. So I was like, as a light worker, we should kind of be on the outside doing more, right? And so that's when it all really shifted. And I was working for myself in law and another firm, and then I realized once I got fired from that job, like the last firm job I had, like, you're not supposed to be here. Like, why are you here? Like, why are you here? And yeah, so that's my spiel on that. But it's been a lot. And also with that comes having to accept that, right? Having to accept, like, after 10 years of university and 3 degrees, like, I'm not going to do what I sought out to do. And while they're really beneficial, there's still that like grieving process of what I thought I lost, which I'm finally at, like, really fully accepting. Like, you don't really want that. You don't really want to be there, but we're so deeply programmed to think that we have to be there to sustain ourselves and our life or have security, that unpacking that was really hard.
Well, things are heating up, my friends, right? Like, it's just like it's building almost in the space of stuff. And I want to bring us back now to episode 52 with my dear, dear friend, Laura Foster. And for some of you guys that know, we are actually Costa Rican friends. We hang out, we work out, we do dinners, we do crazy adventures together. And we have really come like a long way in our friendship over the last year or so, even maybe longer than that. I think we met in actually January of 2023. So we recorded this podcast episode in August 25th of 2023. And episode 52 was called, Are You Paying Attention? And if you remember this episode, Laura had broken her arm. And she was talking about the dynamics of what was moving through the field in connection with that. And I pulled out a clip that was just this potency of explanation of something that was just so relevant. And I feel so relevant to today for us to be able to hold and feel in our heart. And I love Laura as a person. I love her as a leader. I love watching her in life. I love laughing with her about the crazy shit that we laugh about. And we are even laughing in this podcast episode, like the clip that I even cut out for us, because it's like, that's who we are. And one of the reasons I love Laura so much is she authentically shows up as who she is. She doesn't pretend to be something that she's not. She doesn't sign up for things because she thinks she should to honor other people. She is purely in this light. And I know she's done a lot of work to be able to hold that in her life, because she comes from an industry of being a chiropractor that she had to conform to certain mechanisms. But I found her somewhere in probably 2020, 2021, and felt super connected to her spirit as a woman. And I just love the life that we get to create together. And I love the fact that I was on her podcast, she was on my podcast, that we got to exchange in this energetic field. And it's just a beautiful way to honor kind of episode 100, because she's been a part of almost every single episode and energy in my life throughout this whole entire experience. So, wow, my body's in goosebumps as I say that to you guys. So just a powerful place to be, and an honoring of a friendship that's developed over the years, and just like such a soul experience. So I'm just so grateful to be able to share this clip with you and a part of Laura, because this podcast wouldn't be the same without her. All right, listen up, guys. Here we go. Episode 52, coming back from August of 2023. Are you paying attention?
So fast and furious right now. I had a client that I was talking to yesterday, and we were just covering off some stuff that was going on with her, and she was kind of in this place like, why is this happening right now? And so we started kind of moving through that pay attention message, and she was like, she could see it. She could just, as soon as she dropped into that idea of like, what am I supposed to be paying attention to? All of a sudden she can see, just like you, where these messages that actually had been dropping for a bit. Yeah. She really wasn't connecting into what they meant. Or if she wasn't acting upon them. Yeah. That's the thing. I think the activation and the expansion and what's coming through for you is happening in such an accelerated way that I feel like you have to lean in, more than ever.
Mm-hmm. And today I was in this concept in a masterclass I was teaching about
when the hit comes in, now we've almost got to analyze the hit. It's like, is this a now hit? Like, is this like, do I need to pay attention now? Is this something that's coming that it's in my field so I can be prepared? Or is this like a long-term thing that I need to start kind of moving some energy into? And those 3 dimensions, my whole body's like goosebumping out as I say this out loud. Like, I think those 3 dimensions are now so relevant because sometimes we think, oh, well, I'll deal with that later, when it's like, oh, no. Like, it's happening. Like, it's now, right? And I'm sure with your client, like, if that was a concept in her mind, like she would be feeling this or hitting on this or whatever the energy is inside of that space.
That's true. I love that. And this is actually what I love so much about not just having conversations with you, but conversing about this shit in general, is that when you hear something like that, you're like, oh, that's true. That's so true. And where have I ignored that in my own life? And how can I like pick it up a little bit? I don't feel like we need to go faster. I actually feel we just need to be more conscious. And sometimes that actually looks like going slower. Yeah. But it definitely involves a whole hell of a lot of no's and really big discernment about what is really needing and requiring your attention and your focus right now. And can you let go of the stuff that was maybe even a hell yes for you at one point? But if you were to ask yourself right now, is this what needs to be in your life or be taking your attention and focus? I see a lot of no's coming because the boundary conversation is coming up a lot in my life and in other humans that I know. Like, what do you need to start to shift and change so that that's not actually in your field anymore? Yeah. Otherwise, it's going to get wiped out.
Yeah, just some powerful words, right? So the last clip, and I could probably go on. I've had some amazing, amazing guests, that drop nuggets after nuggets, but I just don't have the time to go through all of the actual episodes to pull. Maybe one day though, I will have my assistant do all of that and like pull some really juicy clips from the episodes and just even do like a mashup of like one-liners even or like a really intense thought process. Because some of the guests that have come on, man, like they've even shifted my whole entire world, like just being in their presence. So powerful thing. So we're going to leave off the last clip coming from episode 56, The Conscious Decision, Human in Spirit, with Amber Rose. And I don't know if you remember, but Amber's a medium. She's a grandmother medium. And we talk a lot about living in the pathway of owning who you really are. And this clip really, really tightly leads us into that. And I feel like it's such a great ending to this podcast episode to be able to curate the messaging that's moving through right now in this collective time, in this experience we're going through. And I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful for all the guests that have come through. I'm grateful for all the things that have transpired. And I can't wait to share this clip with you. So no further ado, coming back from September 8th of 2023, episode 56 with Amber Rose.
In a country where I don't speak the language. Yes. So I'm intuiting like, okay, well, I have an understanding of what they're saying because I'm them in that moment, but also it's not quite fluent because it's still me experiencing it through them. So I'm still like getting gestures and working with emotion and what I'm picking up from their energy to read them more than what they're saying. So I'll get like the very key things, which I think is more of a telepathic thing where they'll send stuff at me. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is what you want me to do. So it's super interesting, but that's one of my most fun things that I do. But mediumship for me is really different than it is for many people. When people think of mediums, they think of someone sitting, like in the Haunted Mansion movie that just came out, just like sitting in a room and she has a big crystal ball and she's calling in the spirits and I command you. Like, I don't do that. Yeah. That's not what I do. And it's not what most mediums do. No. It's very natural. It's very organic. And I work very closely with the highest good for everyone. Mm-hmm. So it's what comes through for you right now is what you need. Yeah. It may not be your grandmother that you want to talk to. Yeah. It could be someone else. It could be a guide. It could be your cousin. Your grandmother could be reincarnated and she's not coming through because she's having a human experience right now. So that all happens. And it feels the most authentic and it feels like, that is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to empower others to explore their gifts, to tap into that intuition that we all have, to live a much more fulfilled, calm, anxiety-free life, with purpose.
Yeah. And that's the objective. And that's what I keep speaking into the world. And I know that you saw my post yesterday, and obviously this podcast is going to launch after it, but it's like, I really feel that people are so like way the fuck out there now, like not in a good way of like floating, but in a way of like so diminishing themselves, and they're not trusting themselves, and all the doubt is moving around them. That I love how you brought this up into the space of time about trusting the organic flow in your world and not needing the thinking side where you are feeling. And I live and breathe in that space as well with you. Like everything I do is an intuitive hit. And like I wake up and I'm like this morning, it was like I should have been at the gym at 7:30. I woke up at 7:30 and I was like, what the fuck happened? But I was in a dream that was so connected. And then all of a sudden, other pieces dropped in today. So I understand why I was still in the dream to get these other pieces. But like, most people don't live a life like we do. Like they don't like sit with that or like talk to dragons in the middle of the night or like hold this energy or get up and go, okay, I'm launching that today. I'll get it out, or listen to the feels moving through because of all of the dynamics we're moving in. And I love that your mission and our missions come together that way, where we, like, I don't have your mediumship gifts, nor do I pretend to. Okay. Like, and I am so okay with that. I channel and I see when I channel. Could I channel specific people? Yeah, but it's just not my juiciness. Like I would rather activate and channel like this fucking crazy ass shit and like speak light languages from all different dimensions and like be in that, like that's where my juiciness is, where I watch you open and expand people. Like I'm in awe of your gift, actually. Like I literally honor it. And I don't think you even realize the potency of it. Like I think you know, but I don't think you know, because
I know, but I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this is just you, right? This is how you operate. And that's the beauty, I think, of all of us. When we start to really own who we are and lean into that, then your landscape or your imagery shows up in this beautiful like palette of colors. And I'm like, oh, I love all these verbiages that are dropping into my field to express this. Mm-hmm. And it's when we're not playing in that we're in the gray and that we're in the distortion and we're in the doubt. And when we step into this, and it doesn't mean we don't have challenges. Like, guys, we're humans too. We're dealing with our stuff. We're dealing with human things. Like that's part of it. But we also see this beauty in a whole different landscape as it moves. So I felt like I needed to say that today for some reason.
Yeah, no, that was beautiful. And it's very true. It's when you're living in your authentic space, you just feel better. Yeah. You can breathe more clearly and fully, and you feel centered and empowered and in control of your life. When I try to be normal, which is normal because no one is normal, but when I try that, it feels wrong. It feels like I'm wearing someone else's skin and it's got sandpaper on the inside and it's just chafing me. And I'm like, okay, how do I function in this space? And it just feels so wrong that it's hilarious that I have ever tried to shove myself into those spaces, but I definitely have. I've spent years living in those spaces of being shut down and closing gifts off and saying, no, I don't want this information. I don't want to be a part of this. But then still kind of like keeping the door open.
Of course.
Like, I don't want any of you. Everyone go away. I'm going to crack this door. So in case there's an emergency, you just come on in.
Yeah.
Because I might need you. So just know that the back door will be open at all times. Yeah. So that's always there. And it's really made a huge difference in my life. There's been so many, many times when I should have had something very terrible happen to me. And my guardians will swoop in and go, you need to leave now. You need to go home. You need to get a cab. You need to call someone, or you need to call this person because they're about to get in their car and they're drunk and they'll die. So call them, distract them, and it's not their time. I'm like, okay. And I just listen, even though my conscious human person was going, no, this is weird. Don't do any of it. I'd still go, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And then I do it. It was just it's just funny that I lived like that for such a long time. So it's so much harder.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. Thank you. It's so much harder, guys. Like if you are living in chaos and struggle and you are in hardness right now, is because you're pushing up against something and you're trying to make it work in a mental mechanism that isn't going to work. Well, there you have it, beautiful people. The culmination of episode 100 coming together with some potent messages for you. So all I desire is for you to feel that in your heart, for you to feel the connection within, for you to actually feel and understand that you have control over your life and that you get to choose. And as we move through the next experience and the next episodes, as we keep building and maneuvering forward, allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to move through, and allow yourself to be. Obviously, I'm going to be tagging all of the speakers with this. If you feel like the calling to go back to the episodes and share them out, if you feel the call to do a review or to share this with some friends, please do that. I always ask that, tag some of the speakers. If one of the clips that was taken here that you want to just screenshot it and tag one of the speakers that was on here and one of the guests, please do. This message is for all of us. And the more we circulate it into the field, the more it gets circulated into the field. So I love you guys. I love you. I love you. I love you. I will see you guys all in episode 101 coming up hot, and let's go live. Let's just go be and live life. Mwah.